Welcome on Minute session on installing SAP Business One version 10 version for SAP HANA. Our first step will be to download the installation package for SAP Business One version 10 version for SAP HANA. We will use the SAP Business One Support Launchpad, where the software download can be found. Under the Installation and Upgrade tab, we would select the By Category option, where the SAP Business One is listed. Afterwards, SAP Business One version for SAP HANA needs to be selected, where we might find the version 10. Then, under the installation entry, all installation versions would be listed. Currently, we have only one entry, what we will save into the disk. In my case, it would be the software folder exposed on the Linux computer, where a new directory would be created for better structure. We could now unpack the downloaded installation archive by using the Unzip command on the Linux computer. This operation can be executed on the Windows environment as well, but it would take more time as it would operate over the network. As we are planning to use the SAP HANA Studio, then we are going to unpack the version for Microsoft Windows from the package of the B1 version for SAP HANA, which had been downloaded in the previous video guide, where we had installed the SAP HANA components. By using the SAP car utility, the SAP HANA Studio would be unpacked. We would move back now to the Windows environment where the SAP HANA Studio would be installed. Let's navigate to the shared folder when the installation package was unpacked, and we can execute directly the HDB setup. We would keep the default path for the installation folder and continue by pressing the next button. The additional features are checked by default, and we can keep still the default values. Afterwards, the wizard will display the summary overview, and the installation can begin by pressing the Install button. After the installation of the SAP HANA Studio, we can start the application. The Studio can be found either in the Start menu, or we can navigate into the default installation patch, where it can be executed by selecting the HDB Studio application. By clicking to the Add System option, a connection wizard will pop up, where it is possible to define the details like the host name and the TCP/IP port, the instance number, and the tenant database name. We can enter some description as well. Afterwards, we will define the user credential, as the tenant database process created only the system user. Then we will connect with this specific user. SAP recommends creating a new superuser to perform the administrator task. In this case, we are going to create a new user account by using the user management section in the SAP HANA Studio. In the security section, we would use the right mouse click by selecting the new user option. It is possible to add the new user. Let's define the username and password. Afterwards, we would need to assign several permissions and roles for the user, which are fully listed in the SAP Business One Administrator Guard version for SAP HANA. Based on this, we would add the new role Content Admin, Creator, Eraser, Execute. Some system prerequisite needs to be assigned as well, like the Create Schema, User Admin, Role Admin, Catalog Read, Import, Export, Inifile Admin, and the Log Admin. For some of them, the grantable option needs to be ticked. We would need to add the object privileges for the sysrepo schemas. The SBO command schema is created during the installation of the SAP Business One server, and the command schema is created during the installation of the analytics platform. The admin guide contains the object privileges requirement as well, but if the SAP Business One server would be able to install by the newly created user, then those privileges would be assigned automatically. The user can be created via the SQL statement as well. It is more convenient and faster option to deploy a new user for SAP HANA. Once the new user is created, we can create a new user connection from the SAP HANA Studio to the tenant database. The only difference will be the user credentials used for the connection. During the first login, it requires to change the initial password. As we have managed all preparation activities, we can continue with the SAP Business One server installation on the Linux console. The installation wizard starts with the component selection, where all components are selected by default, and it would be also generating a demo database. Afterwards, the network address needs to be defined. You can select whether it would be mainly identified by the IP address or by the hostname. The next section is asking for the port number of the SAP Business One System Landscape directory. We would keep a default value here. It means the 40,000. It is possible to install the SLD by using an already existing landscape database, but in our case, we would create a new one. The B1 site user is a default user managing the SLD landscape, and now we should define the password for it. It is strongly recommended to deploy a certificate for the production environments for the web services exposed for SAP Business One, and in this section it is possible to select the certificate file and define the certificate password. The wizard continues with the SLD address and port confirmation. The SLD service can be exposed, the installation media, the central directory as well. These settings can be modified later and manually. The next page of the wizard is about the license service mode selection. We can choose to deploy a license service in the standalone or in a high availability mode. Afterwards follows the database server connection detail setup. Beside of the server address and the name, instance number, the tenant database name needs to be set as well. As we previously created the HDB tenant database, then this is the entry what we will type there. We would use the B1 admin user which was created few minutes ago. We would keep the SLD data as a default schema name for storing the SLD related information. Here we could change the directory location for backups, logs, and working folders. Alternatively, we can limit the backup folder maximal size. By pressing the Compress Export Schema option, we could get more space for this action. In the SAP HANA database for backup window, you can edit, add, or delete the SAP HANA server for backup. In the Restore Database Server section, the database engine might be restarted automatically to finalize all steps required by the whole installation process. It is also possible to configure the Windows domain authentication during this phase, but it is also possible to change it as a post-install action. Afterwards, we could change the service layer load balancer port and manage the load balancer member settings. In the installation wizard, you can only change the TCP/IP port used by the SAP Business One web client. In the review configuration settings window, review the changes and start the installation process. In the Setup Process Complete window, review the installation results showing which components had been successfully installed and which have not. If you will encounter any kind of issue, you can refer to the related SAP note and get more details about it. The final installation step would be to install the SAP Business One client. The installation file can be found on the SAP Business One shared folder in the central repository or in the installation CD. We will start the installation from the shared folder. The current release of the SAP Business One client is shipped only with the 64-bit NAS. Once the installation is started, then we would keep the default installation path for the client. Afterwards, we will provide the SLD address and the DI API would be installed together with the SAP Business One client. We are done with the installation part. Please check our next clips with the post-installation activities. Don't forget to refer to the official documentation provided in SAP Business One Administrator Guide version for SAP HANA, which provides the central point of guidance for the technical implementation. Thanks for watching.